The worst part was every evening, my mother used to call me, like video call me, and I had to put a brave face. I couldn't tell her how depressed, sad I was. At that moment, I did not know where to go. Before you come here, you are prepared for what is in store for you. If there is any issue, any problem, at any time, they can reach out to us.
Hello and welcome to the Knowness podcast, the Vault of Knowledge. Hello and welcome to this week's episode of the Vault of Knowledge. Today, we'll be talking to Kritesh Bisht, and he is the founder of InStudents. We'll be having a discussion on what InStudents really is and the difficulties and struggles of being an international student, as well as why it's so important to have a company like InStudents. You can find all the links to InStudents in our description down below. So thank you and join us for this week's episode. So, how are you doing, Kritesh?
I am great. Thank
That's
you.
good.
Thank you.
That's very good. Yeah, no, of course. So let's just start by telling me a bit about yourself.
That is probably the hardest question because once I start speaking, I don't stop. And I am really nervous right now. And when I am nervous, that happens.
Yeah.
So, long story short, I come from a place 300 miles from New Delhi, somewhere in the Himalayas. It's one of those towns where the moment you're born, your entire life script is given to you.
Yeah.
So you study there, you find a job there, you get married there, have kids there, and eventually die there.
And then that's it.
That's it.
Place for 100 people,
Yep.
200, 300.
And the fact that I'm sitting here is nothing short of a miracle. Like, this is the first thing I explain to people when I am sharing my journey, because we are in a bubble there. Like, it's not just me, it's people who have lived there their entire life. And because we do not have people who have changed that, the only role models we have are the people who have stayed there their entire life, and they are considered the people you should be like. It is always difficult for me to, like, it was always difficult for me to vision myself outside that city.
Yeah, or to get out of it, or to take that journey. How did you get out of it? Did you go to, what was it, international school or?
Education. I mean, and that is why I'm so passionate about education.
Gotcha.
I was lucky enough to find the right opportunities at the right time.
Yeah.
And education is the greatest leveler. Like, if you are all in the same classroom, you are, like, from where I come from, we have to wear the same uniform. So nobody cares where you come from, who your parent is, who your family is.
The biggest differentiating factor is education.
Yeah, and it's your merit, how good you are. So if you're good enough in those 40, 50, 60 people, you are going to get those opportunities. So I was, like I said, lucky enough to get those opportunities, utilize those opportunities, say yes to every opportunity, and cut to I'm here.
Exactly.
And it's a very long journey. I've just narrowed it into
a little
shorter version, but it is. Sometimes I don't usually sit and think about it, and whenever I get a chance to think about it,
and reflect,
it's usually these kind of conversations. I realize, like, it's bonkers, the fact that I am here. I would have never thought about it. I did not know Birmingham existed, and that's probably my geography teacher's fault. But I did not know Birmingham existed, and now I'm here. I'm living here,
which is crazy to imagine back then.
Exactly.
And did you go to university or?
So I think that was my ticket out of that town.
Gotcha.
I got a chance, I got enough marks or percentage in my 12th standard, which is A levels, for me to go to University of Delhi, which is one of the best universities in India. And even then, because you come from that place where you are constantly told that you're not good enough and you can't survive in the world. For the first year, I didn't talk to anyone. Like, I was in a shell. I was even afraid to go out and go to a cafe and ask for coffee, because I felt that I did not belong here.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, it's out of your comfort zone. It's a new world.
Yeah, and also, like, because you were told throughout your childhood that the people outside are better than you. They already know more than you. They are they are 10 steps ahead of you.
Gotcha,
so whenever you were there, even though you were in the same classroom or you were studying the same course, you always looked at them and felt, these people are better than me. And I feel that I was lucky enough when when I really got a chance to talk to them, I realized that we are all equally stupid. Yeah, I mean, and that's and I really want to thank them, because they invited me in, and they saw that I was struggling, and they saw that, okay, this person needs someone to talk to, and and I found some of my closest friends through that process, because they saw me and they saw the struggle. And I also realized, initially I thought it was just a me problem. I thought it was me who is wrong, or who comes from that place and has that baggage.
Gotcha,
but then I realized that there are thousands of students across India who come from similar backgrounds, who come from this small space or small place where the this is the ceiling for them. Whereas you can see the sky, you can see the sky,
but they think it's just right there. Even though they see the sky, the sun, the stars.
You can see them, and you can dream about them.
You know it's there, but you just dream. It's just a dream.
So and then I realized, I mean, it's not just me. It is a systematic problem. It's something that. And after coming here, I realized it's not just an Indian problem. It's a problem here as well, because people who come from underserved regions or underprivileged background, they struggle as well. So it's a universal problem, and I feel like education has always been the leveler.
The key out of it. That's like
So I mean, again, it's one of those things where I feel I was lucky enough to get those opportunities, and I was lucky enough to get those people who supported me through this process.
And to kind of break through and realize your limit is not there.
That's not the end. That's not the end. Like I can be amongst the stars.
Exactly. So instead of just looking at it and dreaming about it.
I still it's still difficult for me to sometimes, get hold of reality sometimes. Like, where am I? Like, how did I reach here? And that is why, like, I don't like to think about it a lot, because it will just bring me back, which is, I don't know, not the healthiest way to think about it. But yeah, it has worked so far. I'm still here. But yeah, that is, like, in a very short.
No, but it
my
is
story.
No, but again, it's very inspirational. Going from that kind of mentality and that kind of area and that kind of upbringing to just the center of Birmingham. You got your own startup. So tell me about that. What's your startup? InStudents.
InStudents, of course. My story. So so this is not my first startup. So back in India, as soon as I graduated, I started something with my best friend. It was called Decardum, and what we were doing there was we were making campuses in those regions, the regions I come from, safer.
Oh, I remember we spoke about this.
So it's one of those things where I have always been passionate about education. I know like this is something like if we ensure that every kid, no matter where they come from, gets the right education and the right support, they can do anything in life. But unfortunately, there are other factors that are not in the hands of schools, not in the hands of the parents, not in the hands of the students, that stops that from happening. So one of the things we realized was that there have been instances where kids have been kidnapped. And I am laughing right now, but the process of researching that, going through those cases, it was horrendous. Like those 3-4 months where we were researching like what had happened, it was very difficult. So we realized that what was the challenge? The biggest challenge was these schools did not have the resources to have. There are GPS systems. There are these RFID tags where you can see where the students are
at all times.
So there was a case. I don't know if I should share, but there was a case where a student went missing, and that student was found 3 days later in a water tank, dead.
Wow. Okay.
In the school premises. So for those 3 days, no one knew where that student went. So it was multiple of these cases that we found, and we realized
that's absolutely insane. Because if that happened in the UK, like in Bristol University, for example, that's like national news.
But
possibly international.
And you have to understand, India is a country of 1.4 billion people.
It's its own whole separate.
So there are these news cycles that people actually cover them, but by the 3rd or 4th day, people stop thinking about it, because there is something new. So we went through all those cases and realized, okay, this is something that needs to be addressed. This is something that needs to be changed. You saw a problem
and you thought, that's
and this is again directly aligns with my life's goal, which is education and ensuring every kid gets the right education.
In a safe environment, and don't have to worry about not, going missing or
So we started that. We got incubated in one of the most prestigious incubator in India. We were creating our own product. I do not, neither my friend or neither my best friend have a technical background, so we had to bring in someone from a technical
to help
side
build
as well.
it up from above,
so that is why I really appreciate what Noor is doing right now as well. It is very difficult.
It's super hard.
So we did that. We got incubated. We got our first pilot done, very successful. Really positive reviews. The school wanted to work with us in the future as well. The incubator we got selected for, it was part of a university that had almost 100 schools throughout India. So that was on the table. Okay. Like we were offered that. Like they said,
come in and let's integrate it.
And then pandemic happened. So everything we had built so far was worth nothing because the campuses were shut. Everything.
Exactly. So it's the whole idea behind it. What was the idea exactly? How did it work?
So what we were trying to do was creating an ecosystem where we were using technologies that we created, security-based technology. It could be RFID, it could be GPS, depending on what the school wants. And providing that in a subscription model. So they don't have to give or invest one time. It's not a huge cost for them, and that subscription was as low as 19 pence per student. So that is how really that was cheap. The model we were using, and everything was going well.
It worked, and then obviously the pandemic
happened.
Like with lots of businesses, it just completely
and especially because the first things that were shut were the schools and the universities because you have to take care of the students.
And then it renders the whole idea kind of ineffective essentially.
But a lot of things happened after that. We were trying to pivot. We were trying to find how this could be useful. We realized that construction was still going on. We realized that this product that we created or this ecosystem that we created can be replicated in a construction site as well. Cut to our products were used in the construction of one of the stadiums for the Qatar World Cup.
That's insane.
I don't know how that happened, honestly. I have no idea how we reached there. But also we realized that we're not passionate about construction. No one is passionate about construction. We might at some point of time would have, if we had experienced everything and we had like 20-25 years of experience, that would have been a good industry to make money, but that was never the case for us.
You wanted to go with your passions, not where money took you.
And we were like 21, 22 years old. Like no one wants to get into construction at that young age. So we thought what's the best we can do now? And we decided to come here and pursue our education. So I started my master's degree, and I realized that so far I have not said anything about InStudents.
We'll get to it. It's marinating.
It's like a timeline. I'm trying to create a timeline.
The context, the backstory.
The backstory. So I applied for my master's here in October 2020. Still pandemic, still we unsure what's going to happen next.
The future and
I got my offer from University of Birmingham and 9 other universities. I'm not going to name them.
Nice.
I was fortunate enough to get a scholarship with the University of Birmingham. Hence, I selected University of Birmingham. But one of the things I realized during that period was the support that international students who are spending thousands of pounds, 25, 30,000 pounds, they are getting, that's not enough. And even though if you're going to buy, for example, a Tesla tomorrow, and if you go to a showroom and you express that you're going to buy a Tesla soon, the way they're going to treat you versus the way universities are, managing students, international students who are going to come here is very different. You have to understand it's still a service. You are going to pay upwards of 25,000-30,000 pounds. But the problem is, and I understand from the university perspective as well, because I worked at the university full time. So I understand they have limited resources and they have to utilize those resources in order to support the students who are here right now. So this, I realized I was, I got my offer letter in November 2020.
Okay, I see,
and I had zero communication from University of Birmingham till March 2021.
Really?
And at one point in
Okay.
time, I remember I thought, have I been scammed or something? Because that does not, you won't expect that.
I would think the same thing, to be honest. Yeah.
So that is something I realized. Like I felt that was odd.
Yeah. Yeah.
And this is very important when I start explaining
Yeah,
what
I can see where it's coming.
So I felt that was really odd. But I mean, of course, there were other things as well. You were anxious about visa. You were anxious about all the other stuff.
Yeah.
So I came here in September 2021. So pandemic. We had to quarantine for 10 days and all of that stuff, which feels like a lifetime ago. To be honest, but yeah, still. But over the course of those 12 months, when I was studying here, I found a lot of gaps that are very international students centric. And this is something you have to understand. Like international students are moving thousands of miles. They do not have their family here. They do not have the support system that you have built over the years.
It is really difficult.
You can't just go to your family if it's Christmas or you're not feeling good.
Because it's so far away and also really expensive, and then tickets, and then obviously with COVID.
Absolutely. Yeah. So you have to.
It feels alone, isolated. In a new country as well, different.
In a way, you are an international student as well, so you understand, right?
Yeah.
It's very difficult. So I realized that I think international students are probably not the biggest priority right now, which shouldn't be the case. Yeah. But of course, I feel like it is in a way our hesitation, because we are hesitant to showcase our what's the right word here? I have to be very careful. To showcase that this is something we are not happy about.
Yeah. Because it's hard to say that when you're in a new place,
Also, again, and you do not know what that could lead up to.
Yeah.
If you go to an international student tomorrow and ask what's your biggest fear, they'll say being deported. Yeah, and anything you do,
your visa being rejected.
Will I get deported if I order this? I mean, all of that. We think different.
People from that country, we don't. They don't really have those thoughts because it's part of day-to-day life.
Exactly.
But it's a lot more on the line, and that risk, and because there's uncertainty, you don't know everything or the rules, but people don't really know that, so that adds that stress.
And I don't blame the university as well, because the people who are decision makers there are people who have lived here their entire life.
Yeah.
So they do not have that perspective, how difficult it must be for someone who has moved 5,000 miles from their home. So I don't blame them as well, but I think it is our responsibility as international students to ensure that they know that this is something that is troubling us.
Yeah.
So again, all of that. In 2022, after I graduated, I remember, and I have a photo as well. It's November 2022. InStudents, I have started in a way working on it. The idea is there, but you have to still pay your bills. You have to pay your rent. You have to still survive. And I was still applying for jobs.
Yeah.
So one of the things I realized was how little I had experience in the UK, and that is something that is really important.
Yeah.
And this comes from someone who is a business owner right now. What would I want from a person who I'm going to hire? So I completely understand the perspective, and it's very easy to say or put blame on someone, like this is something you need to change, or this is something
their fault, or this group's fault, or
but I feel the most important thing is sit together collectively and think about a solution that actually helps everyone, every single stakeholder.
Okay, then it's a win-win for everyone.
Yeah, absolutely. And so I remember it was November 22. I was going through my albums recently, and I found a photo. It was a very random photo. The room is dark. I can see some light outside my window, and it's a really small window. I took that picture, and the moment I saw that picture, I immediately went back to that time. And a bit of a backstory there. I had less than £100 in my bank account. I had to pay rent for the next month. I had less than £100 in my bank account. I was living in a 10 feet by 10 feet matchbox kind of a room. I'll tell you why. I'll tell you the reason why I ended up there. And the worst part was every evening, my mother used to call me, like video call me, and I had to put a brave face. I couldn't tell her how depressed, sad I was, and it was this time of the year, like the winter seasonal depression. The
like
first time I
seasonal
am
depression, and it's just
experiencing
that tiny little coffin of a room.
So yeah, so
it's
that
really hard. And then, as you know, as an international student as well, it's really I say you're by yourself.
I don't have a family here. I can't just go back.
And you're in a random, strange place. It's a new world as well.
Yeah, so
it's very hard. Yeah,
that was a really difficult phase. And the reason I ended up in that room was because so I was supposed to shift to a new accommodation on Tuesday, and Monday, my previous university accommodation, it was supposed to, the date was, that was the end date for that.
Gotcha, yeah.
And Monday evening, the landlord, who was, who wanted, who we were, going to move to, whose property we were going to move to, told us that she has given it to someone else.
That's crazy. What?
Suddenly, I have all these bags packed.
Yeah.
I don't know where to go.
You're homeless, basically, yeah. You're straight
for 1 month,
in a foreign country. And
for 1 month straight, and not a lot of people know about this.
Yeah,
for 1 month straight, I did not have a place to live. So I was couch surfing. And this phase overlapped with my dissertation. So I was still writing dissertations. The entire day I was in the library working. I mean, I'm so glad it's a 24-hour time. Library is available 24 hours. But yeah, I was writing my dissertation throughout the day, and I'm staying at my friend's couch. I really appreciate those friends, and I'm lucky. Like it could have been worse.
Those friends.
I had a roof. I had a roof. I'm really grateful for that.
100%, which is really good. Yeah.
But at that moment, I did not know where to go. At that moment when we found out, like I did not know where to go. And that is the organization we want to be. InStudents.
Gotcha.
The moment you step, in fact, before you come here, you are prepared for what is in store for you, and not just this is going to be difficult. This is going to be difficult, but if you do this, it's going to be less difficult. We're going to prepare them. If there is any issue, any problem at any time, they can reach out to us. That is the organization we want.
You are the home that they don't have.
Yeah. So I wish if someone who was in my position at that point of time, the moment they receive that email from that landlord, the next thing they do, they reach out to us.
Gotcha. The first thought is not, what do I do? I'm alone. I don't have anyone. The first thought is InStudents.
Yeah. Gotcha. So that is the organization we want to be.
That's really cool. Yeah.
So yeah, I mean, a lot has happened so far, and the way we work, it's a very strange model, and it's very difficult to explain how we work. But there are certain projects, and the way I explain InStudents to people who have met the first time, it's an organization that is created to promote equity in education. So what that means is, no matter where you're born, where you come from, you should have the resources and opportunities that someone from a privileged background get.
Gotcha. Because at the moment, it's kind of like a lottery, postcode lottery they describe in the UK, where you could be born in a rich area, you got an amazing education, or from a very poor area, and it's, that's unfair. There's no equality. There's an inequality of education, which is what you guys are trying to tackle, right?
Yeah, that is one of those things which stops the, leveling the playing field part of education, where every single person sitting in a classroom does not have to worry about other stuff outside the classroom. So that is what we want to be, the vision, like every single kid around the world. Not just UK, not just India, every single.
Oh, so it's like a whole global.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. It's like an international InStudents community, kind of.
Yeah, I mean, InStudents, the InStudents is international.
Oh, so that's where the name comes from. Okay. Gotcha. InStudents, international. Okay. That's a clever name. It has a ring to it as well. InStudents.
Yeah, I mean, it took me a very long time to come up with that name. I'll be very honest.
No, I can imagine.
And it was so simple. Like, it's so
literally, It's just InStudents,
So the way we work is we have projects that tackle a certain issue in an education system that we have found. So we have a project called Equal Opportunities Projects, where we are using WhatsApp to deliver co-curricular courses to kids in rural parts of India, the parts that I come from.
Gotcha.
And the reason we use WhatsApp is because the technology that is available there is not good enough. I mean, in terms of they do not have access to it, and it's very difficult for them to, and especially their parents, to understand what is happening. There are 700 million people in India who use WhatsApp. So we just thought, like, why not use it?
Yeah, because it's there, it's accessible, it's
And
has a wide reach as well.
And these co-curricular courses, we've created those courses with the help of universities in the UK.
Yeah.
So imagine, growing up in a town where you don't even know these things exist or these universities exist, and then suddenly you're being taught by people who teach here, or who learn their,
You're doing exactly what you wanted to do, whereas taking something that the privileged have in those bigger cities and delivering it to those.
Yeah.
That's and again it goes back to the whole thing of how important education is and equalizing it, distributing it.
I feel like kids growing up there, they do not have role models. It's very difficult for them to see someone and say, I can be that, because no one before them has been able to do it, and they've been constantly told, okay, you can't. So they're not just fighting the system, they're not fighting the lack of resources, they're fighting their own people in a way. And for me, my rebellious teenage phase was going to Delhi to study my undergrad. That was, I had to fight my family.
That's so interesting, because that's so different to, like, here would be like the opposite,
So I really appreciate them as well. And I understand where they come from, because the things that were told to them when they were growing up were that the people outside is not great, and it's a world where they'll eat you alive and stuff like that. You're naive and stuff like. So I understand where they come from. I understand that they were looking after me, but I also know that if I hadn't done that, there is no way I would be here. There is no chance I would have been here. So again, that those, and I'm so glad that was my the biggest rebellion thing I did when I was. So that could have been a tattoo, or that could have been a pure thing, but I chose that.
Instead, it was that education, getting the education.
So that's one. We have a project called the Pathfinder project, which helps international students here. So you can see, like, how different they are geographically. So we have a project here, we have a project in India. The Pathfinder project, that is the first project that InStudents did.
Is that here, or is that in India?
It's here. Gotcha. So it's during the phase where international students have recently submitted their dissertation or they have graduated, but before they have received their first job offer.
Gotcha.
So this is the most crucial phase for me. Like, I genuinely believe, I'm so glad it's not hot tea or coffee.
Imagine it's coffee or something hot.
but I genuinely believe that that is the most difficult phase. That is the phase where that makes or breaks your entire experience here. Because suddenly you're outside the university bubble.
Yes.
And that transition is more difficult, and I can argue with people who would differ with me, but I definitely feel that transition is more difficult than transition from your own.
I think I agree with you. Well, I mean, obviously, I'm I have a different background, but I think because obviously from one end you're going from an educational institute there to a new educational institute, the order is still there. There's still order and there's some consistency. But going from, like, graduating to just
what's next?
Exactly, empty space,
and you don't have,
it's a vacuum.
You don't have a place to fall back to. You can't just go back home, like
your family's back home. Education, which was your home, is done. What is that?
And there is a huge misconception that international students, they come from filthy rich families.
I realized through university, I realized this. Because I kind of walked into that perception, but it's not.
That's a huge misconception. A lot of these students have thousands of pounds of education loan, and that's
loans
not,
or savings or scholarships.
And that's very different to the education loan that home students get here, because that is one, in a way, you can repay it only when you are in a position to repay that.
It's very, like, student friendly.
That's not the case.
Like what's the word, like I can't remember the word I'm thinking of at the moment, but, like, it's not like it's not against, like, again, anti-student. It's very pro-student, whereas I'm guessing those other loans are a bit more predatory. That's the word I'm looking for. It's not predatory in the UK.
So you have to imagine that the person who has just graduated, they're getting rejected constantly. You start questioning your self-worth. You're questioning every single decision that has led you there
to this point. Was it worth it?
And most, I am pretty sure most international students, they, in a way, lie to their family, saying that they're fine.
They're good. Just so they don't stress.
Because
and stuff,
they don't want to, because their parents can't do anything back home.
Exactly. And what's the, I guess the kind of perspectives they don't want them to worry, And I always find it so crazy because, obviously going to university, just being surrounded by international students, I've always had the perspective, it's kind of like an invisible world. You don't know what they go through. I've got quite a few international friends, and kind of speaking to them, you realize just how difficult it is, how isolating and lonely it is.
It is. And also, you have a different perception before you come here. You imagine it's how hard it could be.
Yeah.
And then you realize it's going to be really hard. Yeah. I feel like one of the best ways to ensure that does not happen is expectation management. Ensuring that they understand, okay, if you are here to work for a corporate, this is what you need to get there. I think that is again something, and that is something that we are working at InStudents. So in terms of preparing students before they come here, so ensuring that they know these are the steps that were taken by people before them who are here, and this is how they did it. If you want to be an entrepreneur, this is how you can do it. If you want to get into consulting, this is how you can do it.
I guess it's giving that kind of structure that's missing from a lot of lives of international students.
When I was back home preparing to come here, I was searching all over the place, like what do I need to do to be prepared, and it was very difficult to find. And another thing, so the Pathfinder project I was mentioning, so what we were doing is we are supporting those students during that phase, because one, of course, you're struggling, but also you'll realize that there are a lot of people or businesses that are, again, they assume that international students they have unlimited money, so they exploit them. Gotcha. So the international students have reached out to me, and they said that this person or this organization, they're asking me £3,500, £4,000, and they say that they're going to help me get a job. And
I can imagine there's a lot of these predatory businesses that prey on these students, because where do they go to check? Where do they go to see if it's real? They're in a foreign area, and they just think this is just normal, right? I'm assuming.
And they're desperate, and that desperation is utilized by these people, and they're used by these people. And the challenge here is the narrative that they set is there are two narratives. One, if you don't use our services, you're not going to get a job. So people they're anxious.
And they're already stressed because they have all these loans to pay back. And
exactly. And the way they convince them is that you've already paid £35,000. What is £3,000? Or what? And that just boils really my blood. That's honestly,
no, even me. That is very messed up. Yeah.
And because students are desperate, because students are, they want a way out. Out of this misery, out of this, really
little phase where there's just nothing.
So they pay.
That's so frustrating. I didn't even know that was a thing.
Exactly. So
that's so messed up, man.
These are one of the again, I do not blame universities, but I genuinely feel like this is the phase where students need the university that they studied at the most
to support them. To tell them, to kind of be that figure, of guidance, and to say this is wrong. Don't pay these scammers and these,
because these people. I'm sure they give services. They have these CV review stuff, but all of this,
they're still just ridiculously just.
The university can do that for you, and university does that for you. It's just that students feel that they're disconnected suddenly. The moment they submit their dissertation, they're disconnected.
It's done. I'm certain the university does offer these services. It's just they just don't know about it.
Exactly.
And it's not like there's like a website or a Google place or an app that tells them where to access it. But now there is. Now there is.
And also it's not going to. This problem will not be solved tomorrow. It's going to take a lot of time.
Because it just sounds like a very...
It's a systematic problem. It's a problem that is instilled in the system where, again, you can't blame a particular stakeholder.
Of course.
Everyone is trying to find a way that helps everyone. So universities, international students, other stakeholders, other decision makers, policy makers, all of them are trying to find a way that helps them. So what we are doing right now with these programs or projects that are under Pathfinder, we're giving them a short-term solution, but simultaneously working with them on their policies to ensure that in the long term, that does not happen. Like this actually changes.
Yeah, yeah. And there is that change from the bottom upwards.
Exactly.
It's not like quick little fix and that's it.
I mean, quickly, what you can do is you can give them a space. You can give them a space where they can come together and they can, and the first Pathfinder project, the way we did it, I don't know if you know about Alcoholic Anonymous.
Oh, yeah.
That was the structure. So what we did was in this very building, every Saturday, a group of 10 international students, 8 to 10 international students would come in, and they would share how difficult their week was, what was troubling them, what was stopping them from.
That's such a nice idea, man.
That is how it started.
Okay. Oh, that's like the kind of origins.
Yeah. Now, so what happened was by week 2 or 3, we realized that there is something more we can add here. Like there is a scope here.
Yeah.
So what we did was we invited a local charity and we told them, share your biggest problem. Like what are you struggling with?
Yeah.
So suddenly these students in the first half, they are sharing this is what they're struggling with. This is how they can, how this week was. And in the next half hour or next hour, they're working with that local charity to solve their problem and building work experience. So suddenly they have something to look forward to throughout the week.
Yeah.
They're building their CV, they're building their resume, they're building their network.
Yeah.
And by the end, almost everyone who was part of this program, the first pilot, either had a full-time job or an internship or a work experience.
Yeah, and that's amazing.
So that is
like a win-win situation for everyone.
Everyone. Yeah. And the best thing about this was because we were we were being held by people who are passionate about this cause.
Yeah.
It literally cost us nothing to do this.
I see. Yeah.
The only thing it was that we had to give our time. But former international students who are doing well in their life, they came here to share their journey.
Yeah.
We had these local businesses, local charities. They were here to get something in return as well. They genuinely were really impressed by some of the things these students did. But they were here to support them as well. So one of my vision with Pathfinder is to ensure these hubs, these places, these physical places are present across the UK.
Gotcha.
So every university in the UK
will have access to something like this.
And they could, an international student, they're struggling, they don't know where to go, they can just walk in and say, I'm struggling. Where should I go?
Because they have that home that they never had before. Yeah.
And again,
that community.
I would like to believe that we'll be the guardian, their guardian, to ensure that nothing bad happens to them. So this is one of the projects that we're working on. We're working with 6 universities right now to make it
really
more.
That's cool. Yeah.
So make it more
like
accessible
and and advertise it a bit more and
so that is what's going on in the short term. I know this was supposed to be a question that you're going to ask me later, but I just answered it.
No, it's
but we are also in talks with, I should probably not name the university, but for a pilot where we can support international students before they come here and
make it like the transition a bit easier and
and ensure that they know from day one what they want to do. Because what happens is when you're transitioning to a new country, the first 2-3 months is just you understanding what is happening. So not just you can drink the tap water or it's going to be overcast the entire time, but also how do you write? How do you use referencing? What is a dissertation? How do you write a dissertation? All of these things, I genuinely feel, can be pushed to the phase where they're not here yet. But they are, they're itching to know what should we do.
No, there's a lot of things that, we take for granted. Like you mentioned, the tap water. Or for example, what's a meal deal,
It's a cultural thing.
It's a cultural thing.
It's part of British culture.
Exactly. But they don't know what a meal deal is or what, where to get the best one, that kind of stuff, or what Dixie is. But I think, there's obviously more important things that they know about. But I think, like you said, before you came, kind of trying to look online and find that stuff, there's not really a place for that.
Also, who do you trust?
Yeah, who do you trust? Yeah.
That's
It's
I think,
scary being in a new place. It's natural. It's human nature.
I think trust is the biggest problem,
Yeah.
because like I said, there are people out there who are there
Who will
to
take advantage.
advantage.
Of you. And people know that. Yeah.
So I was really scared.
Yeah.
I was really scared, like who to trust, how do
Exactly.
how can I believe this person?
Yeah.
And that is something that again we need to build
Mhm.
as an organization, and students need to build that, because it's easy for me to say that we are here to help people and do
Yeah,
this
of
and
course,
do that,
yeah.
but until unless we actually do that and show it to people,
Mm-hmm.
I wouldn't have believed myself. Like
Yeah,
I
I know
don't
what you
think
mean. Yeah, yeah,
anyone, if I were in their position, I don't think I would believe.
No, of course, but I guess I would believe, right? But I'm not really from that same background. I'm not, it's not my first week in the UK where everything's different.
Yeah.
I guess another thing is always like how the buses work, how the trains work, that kind of stuff. There's so much important information that we take for granted.
Yeah. So imagine you're taken to, you're put in a plane.
Yeah.
You don't know where you're going,
Yeah.
and suddenly you're dropped in
like Brazil or something.
Yeah, Brazil.
Yeah, Brazil. Yeah.
And how do you do?
Yeah, exactly. Where do I go? Where do I
How do
eat?
you operate?
How did the buses work? Do you know what I mean? Like, where do I? There's so many questions.
And these are
Where do I shop for food?
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
And and a lot of these students come from different parts, not just India, but different parts of the
all
world.
Over the world. They come from Brazil. There's places like China, Algeria,
Africa, North America, South America, every continent.
Everywhere. Yeah, and it's all different.
Yeah, so that is going to be a challenge for us. I am 110% sure that is going to be a challenge for us to ensure that as an organization, we
cater to
everyone.
No one's left out.
So that is something that I am going to be very conscious about.
Yeah, because I guess as international, maybe you might come, and you find that the particular university you're at has, home students. A lot of, like, for example, Indian students, Chinese students, maybe African. But then you personally, you might be from, I'm trying to think somewhere very random, Madagascar or something.
Yeah.
There's no one like you. There are international students, but they're not, from where you're from. So I guess you're trying to cater to all of it, to make sure no one's left out.
I think one of the ways we can do that is by focusing on the end result of what we are doing. So the end goal is to help them get their first job. So we just focus on that.
Okay, and then everything else, leading up to it
is we have to ensure that it is broad enough for them to feel okay, it still is relevant for me, but it should still be valuable enough. But yeah, it's going to be a challenge, and I think one of the things that we can do is actually have ambassadors from particular regions, like students who come from those regions, who come here, who study, they become again the voice of that region. And any student who's planning to come here in the future, they see that person, they either want to be like them, or they know that this is the person I can reach out to them, reach out to, and just so that is one of the ways we are thinking. But I think this is something that I really enjoy about being.
I can tell,
being a founder as well, because you have these, everything is like a puzzle. You have these pieces, and like this is what the end picture looks like.
And
you just have to find how that works, and that is probably definitely the most fun.
Because you know what it is you want to do, and you're figuring out all these little problems. And it's kind of piecing that big jigsaw puzzle together.
And you might not have all the pieces right now.
But
I'm sure
there's still pieces
whatever
you don't know about, but
whatever you can
it.
work with that, and then in future you can get more pieces. And
Gotcha.
That's a really good example. I will use it. In
Don't, I want to trademark it. I'll give it to you free of charge. No, but that's really cool. I guess again, this whole idea is coming into this conversation, I myself didn't really know the struggles of what it is to be an international student. You know what I mean? So it's really cool that there's something like this in place. Where do you think where is it, I'm talking long term, that you see, I know you kind of answered it, but where you see InStudents, is that something you want to see across the whole of the UK, in all UK universities, or is it international? So for example, in universities in India, universities in the States, or do you want to keep it focused in the UK? What's that kind of looking like?
I feel it's one of those things where the moment you get the model right, you can scale really quickly.
Gotcha.
So what we are doing right now is making the model more efficient. Every single day we are trying to do something that makes it more efficient. At one point of time, when we know like this works,
yeah,
suddenly this project is across the UK. I mean, of
Gotcha.
course, it's going to take time and
to
working with
implement it and
universities.
stuff, but it's the idea that's
We want to be the organization that people trust.
We so as an international student, if you struggle, you already think straight away InStudents.
And not just international students. Like a lot of people that we are helping in India right now, they probably are never going to come to the UK. They're probably never going to go outside India.
But maybe going from the village
from
side,
one place to another, and
one city to another, or
and as long as we are able to add value to their life,
even
or
if something
impact them
small.
positively, I think it's valuable.
100%.
So as an organization, we want to be, an organization that people trust. When a parent sees that, okay, this project in my kid's school is powered by InStudents.
You trust it.
They trust it.
There's that safety.
That's what we want to be. So we want to be that organization.
I guess that helps a lot, not just with the students, but extends further than that to the families.
Absolutely.
Like you said, as a mother, seeing that your student is in the hands of InStudents, a reputable, trusted organization, that's kind of like the guardian figure for them. I mean,
it's one of this. So if you see a project that is being funded by UN, or the UN is responsible for that,
it's like, okay, it's legitimate,
it's legit,
it's trustable, and it's safe.
So we want to be. I mean, it sounds weird, but we want to be the UN for education.
No, that's a good tagline.
We want to be the UN for education.
We unite the students together.
So we want to be that organization across the world. Again, it's a huge task. It's a huge.
But I get you. But every big idea or big thing starts off somewhere.
So I mean,
that's amazing, man. I love the idea. But I guess my next question now would be, with an idea of this scale and this level, what's kind of been your biggest challenge?
I think the biggest challenge for me, I mean, it's still a challenge, is to separate myself from InStudents, because I don't want InStudents to be Kritesh's organization.
Gotcha. As in like your thing.
I want it to be, if I genuinely want it to become, a global organization. I can't let it be my organization. But it is in a way my baby. It's something that I started. So it's very difficult to, separate yourself from your organization.
Because it's like your baby.
Exactly.
Child,
so I mean, I try really hard to ensure that
you don't want to go too into it, you want to make it.
It's very difficult. And initially, when you start an organization, you'll always be the face of the organization. But slowly and gradually, I want other faces as well.
Gotcha.
It's not just
you
me.
don't want to be, like you said, Kritesh students. Okay, that's interesting.
So that is definitely a huge challenge, and that's
very hard, I think.
And because it's in a way it's
like your own kind of inner battle, I guess.
And I started this because of my journey, my story. So it'll always be associated with that.
Yeah, it's very personal to you, right?
But I want other people who can relate to the story, or who can relate to the problems that we are solving, to be a part of this organization, so that it's just not me.
So it's not Kritesh student, it could be Isaac student, or Maria student, anyone.
That seems
maybe, exactly.
So that is probably one of the biggest challenges. Another challenge is, of course, keeping your mental health in check.
I can imagine, because you're already as an international student, but then dealing with the uncertainty, the uncertainty of that, and then the uncertainty that comes with any startup.
You have to see, like, we are helping people, but we have to also survive as well as an organization.
You're still a human.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? You're still a person.
So that is definitely a huge challenge, and it takes a lot of toll. And there are days when I wake up and I question everything. Why am I doing this?
And you have that kind of self-doubt sometimes in the morning.
And then suddenly, this is something that I tell every potential entrepreneur or new entrepreneur, that you should have a very strong why. Like, why do you want to do it?
And I think I saw something online about, it's called the 6 whys. So you ask, if you want to do something, ask yourself why 6 times to get to the real root of it, and to have that solid and set in stone in your head. So I fully agree with that.
Because if you have the why sorted, and it's okay to have money as a why. Like, why are you doing this? For money. That is absolutely fine. But as long as you have that why, every time you feel, you have that doubt, like, why am I doing this? That why is going to come back and tell you that this is why you're doing it. And that really helps. But I think I'm lucky enough that I have a very clear why.
What's your why?
I don't want people to go through the struggles I had to go through.
I think that's a very good, yeah. It's very good,
So it's very strong.
it's very motivating as well.
Yeah, and
It's powerful.
it's in short, it's I want to, when I leave this planet, which we all have to do at some point in time. I want it to be slightly better than when I came.
Even if it's just by a little bit.
Even if it was,
that's, So I fully agree with that.
That is the goal. That is, and of course, like it's, I mean, we can go into the philosophy of it. I mean, we just, a speck of dust in this galaxy, and hardly anything matters. But the people who we have impacted.
It's what matters to you, you know?
And the people who we have impacted, even when I'm gone, those people are going to do things. So it's kind of like part of my legacy here. So that is, I think that is my why, to ensure that, I leave this planet a slightly better place.
And it's very motivating, from like a personal perspective, right? It keeps you going when you have those questions. But what else keeps you going? Because motivation, when it comes to this, it's something I ask about quite a lot. But motivation is really, really important. You know, what is it? I know this is one of the reasons, but what else is it that keeps you going and that pushes you? Is it family? Is it friends? Is it a combination of things? What is it?
My family still, they're not sure what I do. Which is always difficult, because I mean, I don't know, like I've always been a very reserved kid. And I've always been like, it has always been difficult for me to communicate with my family. They're incredible people. The reason I am here, one of the biggest reason is their support and their help. But I've always struggled in, explaining things my way. So I mean, in a way, that is out of the picture. I want to make them proud. I think that is definitely a huge motivator for me. My friends, they're incredible. And again, one of the reasons I am still, sane is them. But I feel the impact that we have already created, and seeing them.
It's remembering that and realizing there's so much more.
And, getting those random messages from people who you have helped, and just you can go. I think this is my guilty pleasure. You're going through those messages. Because there are days, like I said, there are days when you need an external validation. Like you need to know, like, what you are doing is actually making an impact.
It's actually doing an impact, because that's what it's about. It's about making that impact, and seeing it is it's nice.
So that
it's very sweet.
That always helps. And so that is why I ensure that if someone has helped me, I'm definitely going to message them. Because I know there might be days when they might be feeling bad about themselves, or they have had a bad day.
That's really good. That's something I need to practice more as well, because we know the impact it has on us, right? So imagine the impact it has on them. Which is really that's really nice. That's really kind.
That's if
it's a good thing to like take from this.
If people take something out of this, say thank you to people and appreciate their contribution.
Definitely. No, 100%. And I think. Okay, that's one of the takeaways. What would you say is like another, like the biggest takeaway from your entire journey? Because you've had an amazing journey right from the start to where we are now, right? And hopefully the finish line is going to be, absolutely amazing. But in this whole journey, what would you say is the biggest takeaway from yourself, or if someone else, if they would ask you, what's the biggest takeaway?
Do not let other people decide your story. Your story is yours. You write it. Because when, of course, the time will come and you have to leave this planet, you will regret it. And regret is probably the worst feeling ever. So ensure that you write your own story. Do not let, it's easy, again, for me to say now. But do not let your circumstances define who you are and your story. So be the writer of your own story.
The author of your own book.
Author of your own book. Because you need to be proud of yourself.
Definitely.
No matter, like if other people are proud of you or not, that does not matter. If you're not proud of yourself or what you have done, life is going to be challenging. So be proud of yourself, and that is only going to happen when you know that you're in control of your life. So hope it makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. Well, I mean, Kritesh, this has been a very insightful conversation, and it's inspirational,
Really,
and I really mean that from my heart.
Really
but thank you so much for joining us. Thank you to the listeners as well. But yeah, if you want to find out more and see more episodes, you can catch us on knowness.com or at Knowness app on any of our socials. But yeah, thank you guys so much for tuning in, and we'll see you next time.
Bye bye.
Bye.